Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're having a magical day, and thank you so much for taking the time to support the channel. Make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe. I've been away for a little bit, very busy in my personal life, so um, we have a lot to cover in this video. I think 3 days of recap, and we could talk about some other stuff along the way as well. So let's start on Friday, right? We had Thursday, we did that, and I'd like to get these uploaded every single day so you can really stay on the pulse alongside me here. But again, very busy, but a lot of free time coming up, which is cool. So we'll get into a bit of a nicer routine. Anywho, on Friday, I was very busy, so I wasn't around much of the day. But we were here in the morning, and I suspected theme market cap of 100 million plus biotech stocks in after hours and pre-market. A lot of pump and dumps, but with a larger company, bigger market cap, it is a little bit harder to do that, right? And so when they do get some news that's of substance, it's more of just a kind of an extended run, which has been nice. So that's been the pattern that I've seen. Pre-market watch list, RMSG, just on the volume scanner early morning. Riley B, LOL, love to see this name. They announced a sale of some assets, I guess. GVH, no news. It did have news the next day, though, because we actually have that knowledge because we're a few days late here. So I think someone was preloading there. And then LCFY, they partnered with a leading U.S. reputation platform, to scale development of AI-ready search solutions. I don't even know what that means, bro. But they had that news the day before this ran. Sometimes you see a little bit of a delay in those news runs, but that's fine. And we did take some trades early morning. RMSG. Let's check that out. We played this twice, it looks like. I just traded sideways all day today. And yesterday, wow. So early morning news pop, and then the same theme it's been. Where we get that news pop, we have a pullback with VWAP reclaim, right? We take entry on that VWAP reclaim here. Stop loss below the recent low. You could even put it here. Honestly, if you put your stop here, that would be way better. It's early morning, I'm putting it here. I'm being safe. That's fine too. We still get that 1-to-1 really nicely. But let's see if, because this, but we didn't have this. I entered early on this trade. Okay, that's why. So I'm entering early just on VWAP before the pullback. It was complete and the reclaim happened. So this is me being a little bit eager in the morning. Okay. So that was our trade. That's fine. Still worked out. But how it should have been is we should have waited a little bit longer. Let that pullback form, right? And then here's the reclaim and our entry. Then our stop loss gets to be moved up under this low before the reclaim. And now instead of a 1-to-1 trade, we've got a 2-to-1 trade. That's far better. And, potentially if you scaled out perfectly, a 3. But we did not. This is what we got, so that's what it is. Then a massive sell-off here, which is crazy, and this has traded sideways ever since. We did reload, but we'll see. I mean, I don't have much hope for this. It's just such low volume that with that news pop, it's just nothing. What was that? Oh, it didn't even have news. It was just on the volume scanner. And that's the thing of things. That's why you'll hear me preach. You need a catalyst, or else it's just dead in the water. It's a pump and dump from someone, right? Someone orchestrated this because it's got a small market cap, low float. And I honestly thought this was a news pop. No news. Can we confirm that? No news since December 18th. My gosh. My golly. But was kind of showing that characteristic pattern. And maybe on that note, because there was no news, that's why my entry was early. If we go back to what my real trade was here, right? That's probably why I didn't wait for a VWAP breakdown, because typically you get that in a news pop. This was not a news pop. Filing that upstairs. And again, the whole point of this video is to come back, review our trades. So, it's just not one day to the next and always forgetting everything. It allows us to identify the pattern, what worked, what good, and, refine it as well. So we like this. We should not have re-entered on this trade. This is bad because there was, again, no catalyst, and that's why we see it be dead in the water, okay? So it's one thing if you want to play on, volume when there's nothing happening, but keep in mind that as soon as something with news happens, this is going to happen to the one without news. Okay? And then we had Riley on the bottom. Check this out. Not great news. Even with news, this was bad. Just kind of chasing this one really quick. I was even slow. Like, even though we're entering on that first minute that the news pops, we're not in at the start of the minute. We're in basically at the end of the minute. But luckily, second minute in, we get out. And this is not how I want to trade. Because what happens if you're a little slow, right? What happens if you missed your exit? It is a full minute. You have 2 minutes here, basically, minute and a half. But it's just not ideal. So what was this news? We're going to file that upstairs that we don't like it. They sold an asset to a partner. Did it actually perform well? Yeah, sure. Did it give back all of the gains? Yep, sure did. Recovering now? Great. But why not play it in on the pullback here if you really like the news that much, right? Again, we take what we're given and we apply our risk management so that we can still participate in the move even though it's not ideal, because it's not every day you get some crazy ideal news that's just going to run all day, right? So we do have to play what we're given. NAOV up top here. This was a failure. We had that after hours pop, pullback, recovery, right? Now, this should be good. After hours movement, morning pullback, reversal into a key level claim, which is VWAP here. Get back in on trend retest here, right, off that pullback. But, just dies immediately. So this was brutal. Our stop was under, this consolidation area, which it didn't hold, and then it continued not to hold. In the morning, this did pop up to appropriate levels, but our stop loss was disrespect, and I never want to disrespect that. There's a reason we manage our risk. How could we have done better? Well, maybe the stop. We can get it. I don't even know how to. Oh, it's locked. If our stop was here on this, because we don't know this yet, we only know this, then it's maybe a little bit more manageable. You could I stayed in the trade but these candles closed below and opened below. So in theory, you'd still get stopped out here too. Maybe you were respectful and gave yourself room underneath this low. That's something a lot of people do. Still, maybe not. You'd have to give yourself a lot of room, right? And that's probably not something you do. So I don't know if we could have made this trade better. I think it was just, it got ripped out from underneath of us. You could, if you did hold, you would have got out to your take profit levels, but it just didn't pan out that way for us, right? So that was an L, and we got to review those ones too. It's not just about the winners; it's really almost more about the losers, right? How can you turn those into winners, or just how can you avoid those next time? It's gonna be a little bit better. The winners are already winning. I don't care about those. Then we had the daily watch list, and I immediately had to take off right in the morning. No news, high relative volume, small market cap on Sky, and severe SVRE, which I think is like a drone company or robotics or something. Package software, no news, high cost to borrow, post reverse split, and that was right in the morning, right? So nice movement here from 250 all the way up to 550, right? So that was pretty cool. And then just jumping in. It's not too important to review if I didn't take the trade. And I knew I was going to be busy on the day, so that's why I didn't really want to play around much. Reversal in the morning, but it just didn't have the volume, right? So moving on to the next day, which would have been yesterday, Monday. Still very, very busy. Had a little bit more time, you could see, but not too much. So pre-market watch list and our theme. We had Ethereum Treasury news. It was really good. CYN. I think this was the other day, but I was not around, so I didn't have it tracked, or maybe the day before. Ethereum Treasury news, I think, was here. Very, very nice. And then we also had SBET. That did a similar move like a while ago. Really? Yeah. Where this had that Ethereum Treasury news, and it went from 5 all the way up to 120 and back down again, which is crazy. So what we had, where I'm going with this is we kind of have this playing out again in BMR. BMNR? Yes. Got that Ethereum Treasury news, right? So we kind of see that multi-day walk-up taking place, which is kind of cool. So that was some news. MNTS had a NASA contract for some power demonstration. IPDN, no news, high relative volume. The BMNR, just talked about that. Private placement at 450, which is crazy that it ran so high. But good news in the Ethereum Treasury has been really responding well. ARTL, they've got first human trial data, which is good. Non-opioid treatment for persistent, that's fantastic, right? XCur, no news, high cost to borrow, high relative volume, small market cap, right? That's, if it's not got news, that's what we're looking for. But ideally, we're pairing this with the news. Then our pre-market trades. Let's get right into it. XCur up top. I don't want to spend too much time, so it's kind of a recap video. We will dive into it more in depth as we go, of course, but just getting everything cleaned up today, and then we'll build some more in the future. This is a news pop pullback, VWAP reclaim. We enter in on that VWAP reclaim. Stop loss under the low of that pullback. Scalp it up. 1-to-1 risk reward. Beautiful. We get stomped out though, right? Brutal. I don't like that at all. This makes me almost not even like the market for the day, right? So that I'm like not playing anymore. I don't know. Then we go into our daily watch list, KLTO. This is that mouse longevity company, which is pretty cool. And they're gonna do some manufacturing for treatment of ALS, which is great, but it's gonna take a year. But the market responded to it. I'll show you something funny. Let's go check out the news. I always use Stock Titan to just summarize and check things out. Not a single positive. Well, timeline to clinical trials, 12-14 months. That's not great. Complex manufacturing process. That's not great. And a bunch of regulation. That's not great. But sometimes the market's irrational, and it loved it. It absolutely loved it. So we took this trade up top. I think the news pop happened earlier as well. In the morning pullback. Pulled back, but the key thing with these pullbacks is it's holding the 200 this whole time. That's awesome. And then in the morning, we see this reversal signal right as the market basically opens. There's like that morning volatility. Things go crazy, but you do get that reversal. Pairing it with our VWAP, key level breakout, that's where you should be entering the trade. I was a little bit late. But what we do see here is, this liquidity level basically. All across, right? You see how it's got the rejection in the morning, and we have that rejection, but when it breaks it, that's where we take our entry, right? This is a break of structure. Our stop is under the reversal signal right here. We could actually even been up a little bit more, but that's okay. We get that 1-to-1. That's fine. Ultimately, it does break down, and that's why I always scale out 75% at 1-to-1 risk reward. Confirm those profits, and then the rest are going to get stopped out at entry, right? You don't need, you can go to the bottom, but then you're giving back some profits. I like to just if it goes to the entry level, cut it. And here we would do that because we've got the bearish signal set too, right? So we're not always just looking for the bullish signals, but if we're in a trade, we're always paying attention to the bearish signals as, probably a get out position. So that happened there, and then we had ARTL. Pardon my typing. Post reverse split, which is kind of crazy, and that's kind of becoming the new theme with the Treasury news. This BMNR, I think, was both of those things, which is great. So we get that news pop in the morning. VWAP pullback into the reclaim. We're a little late on this. I should have been in on this so much earlier before market. Sometimes I don't like to take things into the opening, though, because lots of times they'll die, but this didn't. It kept holding. So just get in on trend. It's got really good volume that's sustaining. Stop loss below this, the low of the morning, and hopefully this is just the daily runner that goes. We have a gap here that we want to fill from 26 up to 30 on the 1 day. Show you how I find that. Right here. Oh, maybe it's even up a little bit. So we want to fill that gap. Just kind of locate. There's another one here as well, but they're basically the same. That's going to translate for us intraday. Just give us some goalposts, basically, right? But we didn't get there. We thought we were, and that's kind of what we would like to. And again, that's why we scale out, confirm those profits along the way, because you never know where the ride ends. But doing really good here, getting that 75%, and then another 5, which is cool. Very busy for the rest of the day, though. Had some appointments, and what did I miss? Well, I'll show you what you missed. BMNR. I just, this was unreal, right? This just ran and ran and ran and ran, and I didn't want to play it immediately. Like, even this, I was like, well, this is too high for me, because it did halt on news in the morning. It halted for some time. Like, you see 5:36, and then the next bar 6:50, right? So it was halted for like an hour and a little bit. Then jump up and it goes, right? And it just didn't stop, which is crazy. So that was pretty cool. That's what, and it's continuing too. After hours, it kept going. Then we had a pullback this morning, and reclaim, hold trend, which is wild, and it went even further, all the way up to 75. Personally, I think this is totally over. Let's take a look at SBET. This is worth $5 million now, when it was worth like $250 million at one point. I think it might even be gotten close to $1 billion. Sorry. It's just nonsense though. It was at 120. It would have been 10x this. 500 million, which is really inflated. And now from 500 million to 5 million, we can tell that BMNR, BRMN, what was it? BMNR. We know that this probably isn't worth the 82, and it was worth more. It was worth probably 100 and some. Well, almost double this, right? So 150 when it was worth 75, right? So it's got a long way down to 5, where SBET is on similar news, right? So enjoy the hype, let it run. And that's why I was like, wow, man, I don't want to get involved in this, right? Because SBET had the co-founder of Ethereum join the board. This just had like some host from Mad Money or some Fast Money or something, like CNBC shows. It was like, well, I don't like it. But the market does what the market does. Anywho, then we have the weekend. No, that was Monday. Today is Tuesday. Happy Canada Day, by the way. Pretty busy again today, but tomorrow we're back on regular schedule, which is awesome. To close out the week, Thursday's an early day. Friday is closed, which is a bummer, but that's fine. And I did a legend so you guys can understand it if you're just tuning in. So we see these. What does that mean? What is this scale all about? Scale out or sell 75% at a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio, right? Easy. The stop sign, stop loss triggered, right? And then 5%, 5%, 5%, last 5%, right? Daily theme, reverse split, crypto because of BMNR yesterday. BGLC, no news, high cost to borrow. Um, Before any news drops, we see just like volume run the market. And then once the news hits, that's kind of going to direct all of that volume that was scattered in these pump and dumps, if you will, um, early morning. And everything just condenses into eventually the one with the best news. So you go from no news, just high relative volume, low market cap, into lots of news, and then eventually in the end of the day, there's just that one news that shines above the rest. And that's why we do the morning watch list and kind of work it down into that one stock for the day. OGEN, they had a public offering, which is not great. How did that even work? There must have been something before this, because this was running and just they killed it. They actually murdered your boy. Um, Maybe there's some news that happened before this. I don't think so. This might have just been like high relative volume that they just stopped into. So here, obviously, this is exactly where the offering hit, and that's why you don't want to be involved in an offering. And so you'll see these companies struggle, right? And that's why they have a low market cap, because they're not empires of industry or anything, and they need cash to operate and grow, right? Operating expenses, what have you. So when they do get a nice movement in their price, they're going to take advantage of that, right? They're going to sell off some stock to raise capital to continue to grow their business, right? It's responsible. So if you were in on any trade that's up, scale out, confirm those profits, because you can never know when those things are going to happen, and when they happen, they're instantaneous, right? Could have got murdered on this trying to play the reversal here. Oh, that would be brutal, dude. Can you imagine? Wolf, they're taking next step to implement restructuring support agreement and proactively strengthen capital structure. That news was the day before, so this is like a late runner, I guess. The news hit yesterday after hours. Nice pop, pullback, hold trend, morning pop, pullback, still holding trend though. So keep this on your watch list for maybe a multi-day. What's it look on the 1 day? Off 52-week lows. Goodness gracious! And look at this gap on the 1 day we could target. Let me turn my magnet on, so I don't have to find the right level. Turn it off because I hate it. So maybe this gets into the gap at 140. Maybe it just rejects the gap at 140. But if it does get into it, you can look for 2. You can maybe even fill the gap at 3, which would be insane. A lot of upside here, potentially. But who knows? We'll have to wait. Volume needs to precede my trade. Certainly, I'm not going to go in on just what could be. I definitely need to see that volume and flow beforehand to make that trade. CLRO, special one-time stock dividend, and it's also post-reverse split, which is spicy. You see that here, and then you see nice movements this morning. So a lot of stocks that are post-reverse split have lots of potential for expansion, and we see that exemplified here. After hours activity, and then it tried this morning, hard pullback, and I seen this morning and gave up on it. I was like, wow, this is dead. That sucks. But reversal, VWAP reclaim, you definitely could have entered the trade here, right here. Green candle, red candle, green candle, all above VWAP. Even this one, you could have if you were quick at it. And look at that. Nice expansion upwards. Pulls back to that 50. Holds it. Reclaims VWAP again. Oh, you should be entering this trade here. You should definitely be entering this trade on that reclaim. And it looks like lots of people did, right? So what was this? From 950 all the way up to 19. Woo! That's a nice run. Yeah, tried in the morning, died off though. And GPUS had some news as well. They're gonna do decentralized exchange or something. This was actually one of our better trades this morning. So that was our morning watch list, and then our one morning trade, which we did really well on. I actually have a SPY trade too that we could review. I'd have to pull it up on my laptop though, because I don't think I charted it here. I was up and about doing some stuff. But you know me, I had to make the trade. So we had the news pop, classic stuff, right? News pop, which we did try and get stopped out on, right? That's what that stop sign means. We're gonna talk about it. I thought it was just gonna hold VWAP and grind up and go. Entered too early. Didn't wait for the pullback, and that's the pattern. News pop, pull back, VWAP reclaim. Enter on VWAP reclaim. Stop loss under the pullback, right? I got stopped out early because my stop loss was just like under this candle arbitrarily. I was like, ooh, that's the pullback. It should have been here, right? My original trade should have had the stop loss here. This should have been my one-to-one. Looking back, that would have been, if I was playing this, that should have been it. Whatever, that's fine. It wasn't. We got stopped out. I respect my stops. It immediately rebounded though, so I get back in. You know, that's fine. Respect the stop. You can get back in if you want. Get back in above your price. That's okay. It's no problem. And it immediately died on me again. I was like, I hate this game. But, you know, we've got our stop now based on what is in a more appropriate liquidity level. And then we do see that trend hold, reclaim VWAP. This would have probably been a more optimal entry, and then you could have avoided this pain. We almost scaled out here. Like, it was pretty good, but definitely pulled back on us. And eventually we get that 1-to-1 out. We get a 2-to-1 out. We get a 3, a 4, and the 5 if you took it. It was close enough to take. I did not, but it's there, right? You'll see I don't have the crown here. But this is the crown trade. That last 5% of our runners, and you know, we're out of those. We got stopped out. So a really nice 4-to-1 trade that basically went 5-to-1. What do you do? What do you do? And that was my whole day, right? So not much. Let's pull up the S&P 500, and I'll pull up the time of my trades. $11:03, which would be 9:03, right? Because I'm a little bit ahead. So here's my first contract at 9:03, and I get that for 51 cents. It is a daily 618 call, right? And we're trading at 616.76. You know, I'm expecting a VWAP reclaim here, and it goes all day. It kind of goes, breaks down. We add another contract. 917 at 32 cents. So 917 here. We had our second contract at 32 cents. The low of those contracts, 21 cents here. Ooh-wee. And then we sold one at 11.47 here for 80 cents, which is really good. And our next $150, so 11.50 here. We got 104, and it's crazy that the SPY continued. Maybe it was here. Oh, 150 would be 11.50. Yeah, sorry, I was wrong on that. 150 Eastern, 11.50, which would be right on this candle. We actually got 104 on this. The candle spiked at 120 was the high, which is crazy. So a 51 cent ad, a 32 cent ad, an average of like 41 cent or 42 cents. We get out at 80, and we get out at $1.04. Just on some daily SPY calls, not much, you know, just playing with some profits a little bit earlier. You know, it's you give 10% of your profits to some SPY calls. That's what I live for, baby. Have some fun, right? And yeah, so that was my day. For the last few days, As far as GameStop goes, I did add some more calls to the position. Going to continue to do that. Um, just kind of noting the IV, right? We're getting close to the 52-week low here. Basically got it tied up. And then this afternoon, we actually did get to that new low, 61.6, and we're at 61.5. 0%. It's not been lower than this, which is great. So it's a perfect time to load up some calls. And, we're doing that. We kind of have our positions here. And we're going to load in some more. Got rid of these 25s today. But we added 327s for October and 325s for August. Just on the low IV. And if, we don't want to push them to expiry. Obviously, as that theta starts to decay, we will roll them out to January if we need to, if we don't see price improvement. But I think we will, as long as Trump doesn't blow up the market, which I think he kind of did today. Because we got into this gap, and it's like, okay, we're going to fill the gap to 28. That's perfect. But we did end up rejecting it. I'm not perfect. I got my GameStop position here to show you. No, I'm not hiding anything. On this account anyways. Man, it's kind of a bummer. Let's see if this is just a trend retest here. I don't think this is. Where does that even come from? Oh, that is relatively important. This bottom trend line, right? So any ads below that trend line are great. Any ads at that trend line are pretty good. Our 1 day still pretty bearish, right? That 1 hour, let's see how that looks. This is pretty, well, looks like it could be breaking down though for sure, right? We have the reversal on the 1 hour, but rejecting the 200 on the 1 hour. Okay, I see. So that's going to be kind of the boss battle, is that 200 for us as a point of resistance. Let's check out that 4 hour. And we've not had a reversal set here yet, right? So things are still kind of looking bearish for GameStop. Maybe we get a double bottom, question mark. That could be a thing, which is quite the decline back to 22. What an amazing buy opportunity that would be. And how many days till earnings? Like, we are getting there, right? 64, tick-tock. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I would love to fill this gap before earnings. That's what these options are for. We want to fill that gap pre-earnings run-up, or on that earnings run-up. And we'll obviously scale out 90% of it there. Maybe we hold a little bit through earnings. We get burned as we always do on that last 10. But that's, whatever. We just play with a little bit of our profits. So that's typically okay. GameStop did that JP Morgan fund, right? They supposedly own 10% of an $8.85 billion fund. This is, well, they already had that cash invested, right? But this seems to be like a little bit of a better way to do that investing, where they're not managing it. He doesn't have to roll anything. Like the treasuries is like 1, 3, and 5 or whatever. So there's no managing those positions. JPM's out, going to do that for them, which is great. And the returns, you're going to get access to liquidity, like more frequent payouts, I guess, which is decent. And then it's like maybe a lot of people are losing faith in the United States a little bit. So those treasuries might not necessarily be as ironclad as they have been in the past. So that could be another reason. Aside from crazy bullishness, not really though, because they already just had that cash. They've literally just moved it, and it's not like it wasn't making money before. I think they went from like their 3.74 return to like 4 or something, right? So not like a crazy increase. It was still an increase, as they assume higher risk, as it's not the stable treasuries. But what if those treasuries aren't as stable as everyone thinks? So it could be a preemptive defensive move, right? And definitely not bad. Love to see it. And I honestly prefer 8 billion of a JP Morgan fund than 8 billion Bitcoin. Call me crazy, but I like it. That's pretty cool. So that happened. We also seen someone have to borrow a bunch from like the lender of last resort. People equating it to a kitty buy. I last two offerings or note offerings, we've had that trigger in the days preceding that. So eyes on that. I don't think the price is near high enough though. So if anything, probably is uh, someone scooping up some cheap shares. Maybe I don't really know. Um, but we'll have to see, and then once we see, we can look back and then maybe apply some meaning to it that makes a little bit more sense to us. As I've been quite busy, not able to look into anything. Um, and then our longer term portfolio, we're chilling. I was up to 112, bleeding out some profits. We're up to about 2,000 realized gains here, which is great. Got some winners, got some losers. GameStop. I'm showing you this is my biggest loser right now because it will be our biggest winner, right? And I'm sure as shit gonna show you it then. Tesla though, man, I regret buying this. I thought, oh no, you're wrong. You're wrong. Elon's not a giant turd. That's just what everyone thinks. Turns out, no. Okay, he is. Anyways, that's it for today. Kind of 3 videos here in one. Then I'll try to keep up with it in the future. If I don't, I'm sorry. I'll try harder. Life's busy sometimes, right? So, but it's it's the effort and the consistency will grow over time as it becomes easier to pump these out. Have a great day, night, evening, afternoon, whatever it happens to be, and I'll see you soon in the next.